The issue, of course, is the housing shortage. People without a house to live in need emergency accommodation, or otherwise they do, as we have seen this year, end up in cars. Last night we visited Tuaine Murray at the Allenby Park Hotel in Papatoetoe, where WINZ had been paying $2,300 a week for the family to live in a pretty basic one-bedroom unit. After we did the interview, Tuaine was told by the hotel that she, her partner and their son would need to leave by tomorrow. The hotel absolutely insists the money WINZ was being charged was the market rate, and Tuaine was asked to leave because they had another booking, not because she had spoken to us. She did, however, have a quote to stay another week, so we're a bit confused about this, but the hotel insists they had another booking. Tuaine had a meeting with WINZ this afternoon. They're in the process of relocating her to another motel in South Auckland at a cost of $1,700 a week, so that's $600 less. The family had been living in a Housing New Zealand property in Papakura for 10 years, but they left last year in fear following an incident where armed men turned up at their doorstep. They were not evicted. MSD have now apologised for stating they had been repeatedly evicted from properties. We first met Tuaine and her family in May. Hello, I'm John.
I'm Rasta.
How are you?
Oh, not too bad, mate.
Nice to meet you. Hello, I'm John.
Hi, Tuaine.
Hi, Tuaine. Nice to meet you. This is Claire,
Hi.
our camera woman.
Hi.
Hello, what's your name?
Kyle.
Nice to meet you. How are you, bro?
Good.
Good. How come you're in a wheelchair? What's up?
I didn't. Mum.
He was born like that, yeah. He's got a condition called cordial regression syndrome. Layman's terms, he didn't form properly in the womb, and just came out like that. Yeah, special.
So there's the three of you, right?
Yes, just the three of us. Yeah.
Okay. And what are you here like Nicole next door, being paid for by WINZ?
Yes, we are.
And what are you paying to be here?
We currently paying work and income have paid $2,400 and something for us to be here for 2 weeks.
So $1,200 a week.
Yes, practically yes.
And so that's just under $200 a night, somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, just below that.
Yeah, that's right.
And when your emergency accommodation runs out here, where will you go?
Wouldn't have a clue.
So Tuaine, her partner and their wheelchair-bound son were a priority for a Housing New Zealand house on the 18th of May. And the $1,200 cost per week was repayable to work and income. 3 weeks later, I went back to see them.
But yeah, this will be our 4th week in here. So.
And I have your papers here. So you have, when we first came and saw you, you were next door, weren't you?
Yeah,
yeah right.
Yeah.
And you were paying how much a night for that room?
$165 a night.
And now I see you're paying $205 a night. So that's $2,870 for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's correct.
And where's the money for that coming from?
Exactly, the government.
So WINZ,
WINZ, yeah.
you go, in fact, this is an application, right? You go and apply for an emergency housing allowance?
Yeah, an extension on to be housed here, yeah, for emergency housing.
And so you pay $205 a night for this room that you're in with your partner and your son who's in a wheelchair?
Yeah, Kaya.
And then you are accumulating debt with WINZ. How much do you owe now, do you know?
Roughly about 8,200 and something. Yeah, that's my debt to WINZ.
And have you started to repay it?
As of next week, I apparently am. $27 a week.
Okay, so is $27 a week being deducted from your benefit?
Yeah.
And how much do you get?
I get $243 a week.
So that's your weekly income. Is that the totality of your weekly income? Do you get anything else?
I get working for families tax credit, which is $92, and my son's he gets a child disability allowance, which is $92 every fortnight.
So you're earning under $500 a week, and you're paying $205 a night to stay here, which is money you're borrowing from WINZ.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was the 9th of June. Tuaine and her family were at that stage paying $1,435 per week to live at the same Takanini motel. And again, that money was repayable to WINZ. They were running up debt. After that, the family was one of 5 accepted as part of a housing initiative run by the Manurewa Marae. The concept was that the family would live at the marae in a cabin until housing became available. And they did, but a house didn't eventuate. And after 12 weeks, the family moved back into a motel, in this case, in fact, the Allenby Park Hotel in Papatoetoe, which I visited yesterday. How much a week are you paying to be here?
We're paying $2,310 to stay in this motel. Yeah.
A week.
A week, yep.
And for people listening, can you describe the place?
It is actually better than what we were in. It's the best one that has been able to accommodate our boy, Kaya. He's in the wheelchair, but it's still not somewhere we can call home.
So, almost 7 months on, the trio are still living in a motel, hotel, lodge, now paying $2,300 per week. Now, this money is no longer recoverable by WINZ. The taxpayer is paying that $2,300 for a very basic one-bedroom unit. Tuaine, can you show me the kitchen you get for $2,300 a week or over $300 a night? Yeah. This is it.
This is it. This is the oven, the fan, the aircon doesn't go, the fan doesn't go. We currently can't cook inside it, and we can only use a stovetop.
So the oven doesn't... So the fan, is the fan working?
Well, there's no buttons up here to turn it on, and only the stovetop works. The inside grill and the bake doesn't go. And we have a microwave.
And does the microwave work?
The microwave works, yes. But that's it, microwave, jug, sink, and an oven that doesn't work.
So, that was Tuaine Murray speaking to me yesterday. Now, this is obviously a difficult situation for WINZ. If they don't accommodate Tuaine, her partner and their son, they'll be homeless. If they do, they end up paying up to $2,300 a week for what, if you are watching, you will have seen as pretty basic emergency accommodation. As we just reported, all of this has changed this afternoon because Tuaine is going elsewhere, and that will be $600 cheaper, $1,700 a week. Again, WINZ will be paying for that. The issue is a lack of housing options, and that's not WINZ's department. Yesterday we went to Anne Tolley, Social Development Minister. Her office referred us to Paula Bennett, Minister for Social Housing. Paula Bennett wasn't available. Her office referred us to the Ministry of Social Housing. And from them we received a statement last night which we could attribute to Kay Reid, Associate Deputy Chief Executive. It said, and I quote, "Ms Murray has been repeatedly evicted due to her behaviour," meaning she wasn't eligible for a Housing New Zealand property. Repeatedly evicted. Now, this is damaging to Ms Murray, and we were surprised as we'd researched her background thoroughly before we did any of these stories, and we weren't aware of any evictions. We asked for clarification. Today, we received a statement saying, and I quote, "In the interest of providing you with comment at speed, it appears we have oversimplified our comments regarding the nature of Ms Murray's past tenancies, and we accept that the result was misleading." We apologise for that. So, an apology from the Ministry. The statement goes on to say, however, the family has been required to move from at least 2 properties. Once again, we don't have evidence of that, and nor did MSD provide specific details. What we believe happened is that the Murrays had a state house for the best part of a decade. They weren't evicted from it, but in late 2015, armed men came to the house asking for money. Tuaine Murray says they had no idea who the men were or why they had picked their house, but it was terrifying. They left the house and never went back. In doing so, they left rental arrears of $340. We've seen the Tenancy Tribunal rulers specifying that amount. So $340 in rental arrears. This appears to have been the beginning of a dispute with Housing New Zealand. After it had been vacant for some weeks, Housing New Zealand contractors came to the house and found blood on the kitchen floor and a gun in the bedroom. The Murrays emphatically state they weren't theirs. Traces of methamphetamine were also found. Again, the Murrays deny using or selling methamphetamine. No one has ever faced charges over the gun or the methamphetamine, but Housing New Zealand suspended the Murrays from having access to their properties. It was then the Murrays ended up in emergency housing, and many times more per week than the cost of the Housing New Zealand property they had lived in for a decade. And we still find ourselves now, the taxpayer paying, it was $2,300 a week. It will be from tomorrow $1,700 a week for their emergency housing. WINZ say they are trying very, very hard to find some kind of permanent solution.